Happy Thursday, Harbor Shores, and to all who are watching, wherever you are watching from. As we continue to prepare our hearts for this Easter season, our word of the day is submission. We're going to go to Matthew 26, verses 36 through 39, where Jesus perfectly models exactly what this word means. So follow along with me as I read, starting in verse 36. Then Jesus went with them to a place called Gethsemane. And he said to his disciples, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." And taking with him Peter and the two sons of Zebedee, he began to be sorrowful and troubled. And then he said to him, "My soul is very sorrowful, even to death. Remain here and watch with me." And going a little further, he fell on his face and prayed, saying, "My Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me. Nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will." It's easy for us to focus on the sacrifice of Jesus during this season. But sometimes I think the word submission can get lost in the midst of this whole Easter celebration. Right? We have the sacrifice on Good Friday. We have the hope of the resurrection come Easter, and we love celebrating these things. But all of this took place as a result of Jesus' willingness to submit to his Father's will. I think we can't forget that Jesus, though he was fully God, he was also fully man. And Luke 22 does a great job in its parallel comparison to this scene in the Garden of Gethsemane to show us that humanity firsthand, where he says that Jesus, while he was praying, while he was agonizing over following the will of the Father, actually began to sweat droplets of blood. Something that can only be caused by unbearable stress and agony. So as Jesus actually considered submitting to the will of his Father, putting the weight of the whole world's sin on his shoulder, that submission brought him that level of agony. And yet we see our perfect sacrifice modeling perfect submission by saying, "Not my will, but your will be done." Submission's never an easy thing for us because we know in the end submitting is going to cost us our rights, our freedoms, our wills, what we want. Now there are times when it's easier, right? There are times when submission hurts less. So when we submit to our employers, we know, hey, we got job security. We're going to get paid. We're going to get them benefits. And when we submit to the law, we know we're not going to get incarcerated, and that's always a good thing. And we know that when we submit to our wives, we know we're not going to be sleeping on the couch that night, which is a beautiful thing, unless you have a really comfortable couch. But all of these things come with promise, right? They come with a promise of less comfort, less pain. And yet Jesus modeled submission, knowing what his submission would cost him, knowing that it would cost him his dignity, that it would cost him his well-being, that eventually his submission would cost him his life. Now, he could have chose a road that was filled with less pain, a road that made more sense to him, maybe one that prolonged his years. Could have led to really good things, right? More time with Jesus on earth, more time to minister to the people, more time for great teaching from God himself. And yet he knew what his Father had asked him to do. And he knew that the only option at that point was submission, regardless of the cost. Submission's hard. Sometimes it brings blessing and benefit, and other times it costs us dearly. But if our hope is only in happy circumstances, we will only submit in times where we are guaranteed a great yield when we do. And yet as we consider Jesus' example of submission, we find a security that rested on something much greater than just circumstantial happiness here on earth. Hebrews 12:2 states that Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross, despising the shame, and is seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Jesus knew that submitting meant facing the cross, but he did it for the joy of what awaited him, knowing that obeying God in this life would lead to something far greater in the next, far greater than anything that this world could ever possibly offer him. This Easter season, may we view submission through the eyes of our Savior, And may we, like him, be willing to say to our Father, regardless of what it costs, not my will, but your will be done. Have a great day.